Rome, Italy, October 1968. Via Veneto, the most glamorous street in Europe. Movie stars, journalists, expense accounts, a world that runs entirely on who you know and how you look. A boy sits at the edge of it all. He is 11 years old. His name is Marco. He has a wooden box, 2 brushes, and a can of wax that is almost finished. He is not on the terrace. He is not in the cafe. He is on the pavement outside it, where the light is worse and the tips are almost nothing. His shoes are broken. His jacket is his father's. His father is gone. He has been sitting there since 6 in the morning. It is now past 3 in the afternoon. He has earned 400 lire. Enough for bread. Not enough for the wax he needs to work tomorrow. He is not new to this. He has been coming to this corner for 2 years. He took the spot over from an older boy who moved north for factory work. The corner is his now, which means very little on a street where the people with money walk fast and look straight ahead, where the shine boys are part of the furniture. Notice the way a lamppost is noticed. There, but irrelevant. His mother works mornings in a laundry off the Corso. She does not know he skips school on Thursdays. She would be angry if she knew. He does it anyway because the Thursday market traffic is better and the family needs what he brings home. He has made this calculation himself. He is 11 years old. Now here is what nobody at that cafe knew. 20 meters away, a film crew was wrapping for the day. A man walked out of the production van alone. No entourage, no sunglasses, no one stopping him for a photograph. He wore a plain jacket and moved like someone who had learned very early that drawing attention to yourself was a luxury you could not afford. His face was not beautiful. It was something harder than beautiful. Deep lines, a jaw like quarried stone. Eyes that had looked at real darkness and decided not to flinch. His name was Charles Bronson. He was 47 years old, and he had just finished another day on the set of Once Upon a Time in the West. But here is the thing. Before we go any further, you need to understand who this man was before he ever set foot on a film set. Because what happens next on this street makes no sense without the darkness that came before it. Ehrenfeld, Pennsylvania. 1930. There is no heat in the house. There is no extra food. There are 15 children. The father is a coal miner. He works in the black beneath the Pennsylvania mountains, crawling through shafts 3 feet high, breathing iron and dust. He dies when Charles is 10 years old. 10 years old. Charles Bukinski does not go to school that week. He goes down into the mine. Understand what that means. Not as a metaphor, as a fact. A 10-year-old boy descending into the earth to load coal into carts so his family can eat. His hands split open, his back bends. The ceiling is so low he cannot stand. And the darkness is absolute. Not the kind of dark you get in a room with the lights off. The kind of dark that has weight to it, that presses back. He works the mine for years. His first language is Lithuanian. He does not speak English well until his teens. When teachers call on him, he stares back in silence. The other children laugh at his clothes, his accent, the way he holds himself. He does not react. Silence becomes his first tool of survival. Then the war comes. He enlists. He becomes a tail gunner on a B-29. He flies 25 combat missions over the Pacific. 25 flights where the difference between landing and not landing is thinner than a wing. He never talks about it afterward. Not once. When he comes home, he works odd jobs. Washes dishes, paints houses, picks onions in the fields. Then, one evening, almost by accident, he walks into a theater workshop in Philadelphia. He stands at the back. He watches educated people pretend to be other people, and something moves in him. Not ambition, not vanity, a single precise thought. If I can do this, I never have to go back. He teaches himself. He moves to New York. He changes his last name. He starts appearing in small roles, always in the background, always the face that makes you uneasy without knowing why. For 15 years he is the man in the corner, the extra with the dangerous eyes. Hollywood keeps him there and calls it enough. But Europe sees something different. By 1968, the French have been putting his face on magazine covers for 3 years. They call him Le Sacré Monstre, the sacred monster. In Italy they call him Il Brutto, the ugly one. And they mean it as the highest honor a man can receive, because his face is not the face of privilege. It is the face of everyone who has ever worked with their hands and been told to stay in the back. Sergio Leone sees that face and casts him in Once Upon a Time in the West. It is one of the finest westerns ever made. Bronson plays harmonica, a man of almost no words and absolute purpose. A man who has waited his whole life to do one thing. A man shaped entirely by what was done to him in childhood. He is not acting. The shoot itself is long and grueling. Leone is a perfectionist in the most exhausting sense of the word. He shoots the same sequence 12, 15, 20 times. He rearranges the light for an hour to get a shadow to fall at a precise angle. The production is vast. Hundreds of crew. Exteriors in Spain, interiors in Rome. Bronson does the work without complaint and without conversation. He arrives early. He knows his lines before anyone else. He does not socialize at dinner. He eats alone or with a small book in his jacket pocket. The crew respects him for this. They do not understand him, but they respect him. On that October afternoon, the day's filming had run long. A technical problem with a dolly track had cost them 3 hours. By the time they wrapped, the light was flat and everyone was tired. The other cast members climbed into their cars with their assistants. Bronson walked out alone. Charles Bronson walks out of the production van and starts moving toward his car. He passes the edge of the cafe terrace. He is about to keep walking. Then he stops. He has seen something. The boy, Marco, sitting very still on his wooden box with his brushes across his knees, not performing sadness, not looking up hopefully at every passing suit, just sitting with the settled patience of someone who has already learned that the world mostly walks past. Bronson recognizes that stillness. He has lived inside it. He knows what it costs to sit like that, to not perform need, to not look up and work a passing face for sympathy. It takes a particular kind of discipline to be that still when you are hungry and tired and your day has produced almost nothing. It is not patience exactly. It is something older than patience. It is the stillness of someone who has decided that dignity is the one thing that cannot be taken by circumstance. He walked past boys like this in his own childhood and nobody stopped. He was that boy in different clothes on different streets and nobody stopped. The world has a way of rationalizing the walk past. Too many of them. Can't help everyone. Someone else will. He had heard those thoughts before. He recognized them the way you recognize a particular smell. He did not entertain them now. He walks over. He sits down on the low wall beside the boy without asking if it is all right. The way a man sits when he is not performing casualness but actually feels it. He points to his shoes. Marco looks up. He does not know the face. He does not know the name. He knows a customer when he sees one. He opens his box and gets to work. For a few minutes, neither of them speaks. The street moves around them. Bronson watches the boy's hands. Careful, practiced. The motion of someone who has done this long enough that the knowledge has moved from the head to the fingers. He notices the wax tin, almost empty. He notices the jacket, too large. He notices the broken seam on the boy's right shoe. "How long have you been here today?" Bronson says. His Italian is poor. He uses his hands. The boy understands. "Since morning," Marco says. Bronson nods. He looks at the coins in the tin beside the brush. He does not make a face. He does not look away. He just looks, the way a man looks at a number he already knew before he saw it. The shoes are finished. Marco does his work properly. Every part of the shoe. He does not cut corners because the customer is distracted. Bronson notices this. He reaches into his jacket. He pays. He pays enough that Marco goes very still and looks at the money and then looks up. Bronson is already standing. "Wait," Marco says. Bronson stops. The boy wants to give change. He is counting through his coins. He does not have enough. He looks at Bronson with something that is not embarrassment exactly. It is the look of someone who refuses to accept something he has not earned. Bronson looks at him for a long moment. "Keep it," he says. Marco shakes his head. Now, here is where most men would have smiled, would have said something kind and moved on, would have made the boy feel like a charity case and walked away feeling good about themselves. Bronson does not do that. He sits back down. He reaches into his jacket and takes out a small notebook. He writes something. He tears out the page and folds it. He holds it out to Marco. Then he points to his shoes. He says, in his rough Italian, "These are the best shoes on this street right now." Marco looks at the page. An address. A name on the page he does not recognize. He looks up. "That is a man I know," Bronson says. He needs someone who does good work and does not cut corners. Go there Monday morning. Tell him I sent you. He stands. He straightens his jacket. He looks at the boy one more time. Then he walks to his car, gets in, and is gone. Marco sits for a while with the folded paper. Then he puts it carefully in the inside pocket of the oversized jacket, close to his chest, and starts packing his box. But wait. Here is the part that nobody knew for years. The name on that paper was a production manager, a man who handled logistics for multiple European film shoots cycling through Rome that decade. A man who needed reliable, meticulous people who showed up and did the work without being asked twice. By the following spring, Marco was running errands on set. By the year after, he was a junior production assistant. By his mid-20s, he had a credit on 3 Italian films. He built a career in logistics, then in production coordination. He never forgot where it started. He never knew the man's name. Not for years. Not until he saw a poster. Not until he looked at that stone face on a cinema wall and went very still, the same way he had been sitting on Via Veneto with his brushes across his knees. Charles Bronson never mentioned it. Not in any interview, not in any biography. There is no record of it except in the memory of one man who carried a folded piece of paper close to his chest through a cold Roman autumn. That is the nature of the thing. The acts that actually change a life rarely get recorded. They happen in the gaps between the documented moments, on a side street, at the edge of a cafe terrace, between a man who has survived enough darkness to recognize it in someone else and a boy who is sitting inside it right now. Because that is who Bronson was behind the silence. He went on to film the greatest Western of his generation. He went on to become the highest-paid actor in the world. In 1974, at 53, he made Death Wish and redefined American cinema. Studios had said he was too old, too quiet, too rugged. He proved that audiences were not looking for perfect. They were looking for real. Every film in that tradition since, every Taken, every John Wick, every Equalizer, carries the blueprint he drew on a New York sidewalk at an age when most actors have been forgotten. He lived the rest of his life on a ranch in Vermont, far from the industry. He gave almost no interviews. He used his name and his money to fight for his wife Jill when cancer came for her in 1984. He sat beside her until 1990 and never turned it into a story. Because that is what he did. Not the performances of grief that Hollywood trades in, not the press statements, not the carefully timed revelation in a magazine profile. He simply stopped going to sets he did not have to be on. He stopped attending things that did not matter. He sat in a room with the woman he loved and was present in the way that counts, which is without an audience and without applause. When she passed in 1990, he carried it the same way the coal mine had trained him to carry everything. Silently, with his spine straight. He never cried on camera. He never made her death into something that served his reputation. She was his, and he was hers, and that was not the world's business. He passed in 2003, quietly, the way he had lived. There is a photograph from Rome, 1968. Bronson on a cobblestone street in a plain jacket, jaw set, eyes looking somewhere just past the lens. The lines in his face are deep. He looks like a man who has carried a great deal of weight for a very long time and learned that carrying it quietly is the only dignified way. On that same street, a boy with a wooden box was learning the same thing without knowing it yet. Silence is a source of great strength. Grit lasts forever. If this story stayed with you, subscribe. Hit the bell. Leave one word in the comments that describes Charles Bronson. And pass this on to someone who needs it today.